Welcome to Horns Eye Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these videos is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So let's get to it. Talking about something a little different here tonight. Going to talk about Freemasonry and the potential involvement in Idaho 4 and the Delphi cases. So, Confessions of a Master Mason. Now, important, all my videos, pure speculation, my personal opinions, not saying anybody's guilty of anything. I'm just having a conversation about something that interests me and interests you. So I'm always amazed at how often the idea of Freemasonry is whenever there's some blame to go around for any negative things happening. All right. Government corruption, all sorts of crimes, including murder. And I've heard it mentioned in the Delphi case as well as in the Idaho 4 cases. I've heard, so many things brought up that are just flat out wrong. And I felt it was time to weigh in on this with you. Now, as the thumbnail mentions, Confessions of a Master Mason, and you're probably wondering, have I got somebody here in the studio with me that's going to come forward with his face covered and his voice all altered to make it sound mysterious? No, I don't have anybody here like that. I don't have anybody like on the standby talking on the phone or anything of that sort. The Master Mason I refer to is me. Yes, I used to be a member of a Masonic lodge and I became a Master Mason. Now, before you guys go freaking out on me, just have a seat and let me explain. It's not quite what you think. Now, I am planning on doing a longer video on this subject for the new True Crime Deep Cut series, but for now, I'll keep it brief. I had become curious about Freemasonry and joined a local lodge in the city that I lived in at the time. It was about 1996 or 7, and I met a lot of really nice people when I joined, and seeing them every week was fun conversation, good for business, networking and things like that. And that's why most people join it today, as far as I know. I left the lodge in 1998. I think that was about when it was. I left for a few different reasons, but the main reason was that my kids were young at the time, and I just wanted to spend more time with them. And I was taking a lot of time doing the different charity things that the Masonic Lodge was involved with. So my experience was limited just for 2 or 3 years. But what I did go through was the first 3 degrees. And a degree in Freemasonry is like a play, which members of the lodge act out for the person who is trying to obtain that degree. So you're blindfolded and you're led through this room where this play is being done. So all you can do is listen, and you're told to listen because you're going to have a test on it after it's over. And you come back a week later and you take like an oral exam and pass, and if you remember what you need to remember. So it was very fascinating when I went through it, kind of creepy, but the first one, was fine. And then I knew it was going to be fine after that. Freemasonry uses lots of images and things to illustrate points that they feel are important, like the square and the compass, and it equates it to different things about your life. So all you have to do is acknowledge a belief in a higher power. It doesn't matter what religion or denomination you are. That doesn't make any difference. And as a matter of fact, after you're sworn in on whatever you choose to be sworn in on, whether it's a Bible or a Torah or a Quran, then it's never even mentioned again. And it's forbidden to talk about God or politics in the lodge. So at least the one I belong to, that's how it was. Now, the third degree is the last of the three that you go to at that local lodge level, and that's how you achieve the degree of Master Mason. And at that point, you're a full-fledged member, and you can, be involved in everything going on at the lodge and all the different charity works that they do. Now, just like the Bible uses violent imagery to teach lessons, so does Masonic literature. So there are things in there that talk about if you, break one of their, rules or, that sort of thing, that there's penalties that, would happen. And they talk about things like your tongue being torn out from its roots or something crazy like that. And it's not meant to be literal, just like an eye for an eye and that sort of thing. It's just the way it was written at the time. And I think I did read of a few different random cases over the years that had happened with parallels to Freemasonry. But again, you're talking very, very rare. Now, I'm not a Masonic scholar, and it's been over 20 years since I was even involved in it. I'm not sure how much it's changed since I left. If anything, I'm sure it's gotten more watered down. Many years ago, men joined the lodges, as commonly as they wore, fedoras in the early 20th century. So it was very common, to find someone involved in a story at that time would be a Freemason. So it really wasn't any big deal. It's just become more of a big deal, I think, in the internet age. Now, my experience was that most of the guys were like senior citizens. There were a handful of younger people that were in there like me at the time. But, these guys just enjoyed the friendship, the camaraderie, breaking bread together. Ham and beans and walleye were the two that I remembered that we ate all the time. The dues we paid covered the meal each week and then the other bills to keep the lodge open. There was a phrase in the third degree mentioned called Low 12, and I found it very interesting. And I learned that in Masonic teachings, that means midnight or the very, very end of the day. And so some Masons believe that it could be the very, very end of your life as well. And that always seemed really, really interesting to me. And I wound up, being a heavy metal guy. When I started playing in a band again, where I moved to, I decided to use the name Low 12 for the band, and I did that for 18 years. But none of the songs were about Freemasonry. I just liked the name. That's simple as that. Now, when it comes to Delphi, I do feel there is a little bit of validity to the Freemasonry angle. It's been confirmed that the prosecutor, Nick McClelland, is a Mason at the same lodge as one of the early suspects in the case, Brad Holder. And that was the subject who was interviewed right like a week after the murders happened. And that interview was deleted somehow, and not really a good explanation of why. And so that definitely makes you go, does that bond of Freemasonry, could that have been to blame here? I really don't know. But, I don't think that it does, but I could see where people would get suspicious because it is a fraternal organization, very similar to the college fraternity that it was modeled after. They keep secrets, and I've never had anything like that come up while I was a member there. All I saw was a group of men who liked each other's company, that were very generous with their time and gave up, a lot of that to the charity work they did. So, but given the rest of the insanity going on in Delphi, the fact that the prosecutor and that guy were both in the same Masonic lodge definitely makes me a little bit concerned. Now, in the Idaho 4 case, I've had a couple of people in the comments suggest that some of the members of law enforcement were Freemasons, and I really haven't dug into that. It's certainly very possible. It's very common for law enforcement. I mean, it's the fraternal order of the police, so that's very similar. But keep in mind, the lodge I belong to is what they call a blue lodge, which is kind of like your local lodge. And that's where they do the first 3 degrees. And then after that, you'd have to go to a Scottish Rite temple to get the remainder of the degrees. And then the 33rd degree, which is the highest, those are the Shriners, and the Shriners are the ones that do the children's hospitals. So they do really, really, good work there. So for all the ominous nature of Freemasonry, it's really not like that at all. And I just wanted to clarify it. But, could there be contacts made when these guys are in the same lodge? Sure. But it's really no different than people belonging to a church and meeting people there, or, a group of people that like to run and go on runs together. So there are secret handshakes and a couple things like that I really don't feel the need to go through here. That's almost bordering on silly. So if you're interested in this, please comment below. I'm thinking about doing that true crime deep cuts on it, and trying to work with somebody that I know that knows a lot more about this than I do to talk with me about it. So let me know what you think. I mean, am I totally off base, or do you think Freemasonry could be part of this whole thing? Like I said, I don't know if it really does it all. I just want to clarify it. But want to say thank you to the Hornside Club. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate that support. And to all of you that watch these videos, I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on 666 Seconds of Murder.